My dream for New Orleans is simple. I want my babies to grow up in a safe and inspiring city. A city stronger than I've ever seen it. A city that has leadership that sits down with everyone. Leadership that brings everyone to the table. Leadership that makes sure everyone is safe. Leadership that doesn't get complacent. Leadership that understands the struggles that all of us have. Who will take the reins? Who will bring ethical standards back to City Hall? I'm on a mission to find them. So let's do it together. NolaPapa. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. It's your papa, and we are live at the Ruby Slipper. We're continuing our mayoral candidate series, this time today with Ricky Twiggs. I love saying his name. I can't wait to hear about his platform. Let's go. It's time to eat some brunch. Cornhole? No? Yeah? No. Let's go. Let's go.
What?
3, 2, 1.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm such a nerd. NolaPapa coming to you live at Ruby Slipper Cafe on Broad Street. Continuing our mayoral series, because you know Papa is nosy. I got to know everything. We talked to council member Oliver Thomas last time. We talking to Ricky Twiggs today. I have read up on him. I love his charisma. I love his attitude. He's a new, fresh take on, City Hall and new ideas, fresh ideas. I can't wait to get into it. I've been waiting for it. You guys, let's welcome Ricky Twiggs. Hey y'all, how you doing? I am excited today. Last time we had council member Oliver Thomas from the New Orleans East. He sat down, he talked to us about his plan. Today we welcome Ricky Twiggs. I'm really excited. I love saying his name. He reminds me a little bit of John Mayer, a little bit. I have to point that out. But I can't wait to hear about your platform, your fresh take, and we're going to do things differently today. I have the hot potato microphone, and I'm going to pass it to Ricky Twiggs. That way I don't talk over, because my mama gives me this beautiful trait of talking over people, and I'm not going to let that happen today. So we're going to talk to Ricky. I'm going to ask him spot-on questions that I did not send over. No questions. Didn't do that with Oliver either. This is unscripted. It's unscripted. So welcome to the show, Ricky. I am going to start out naturally. I would love to just ask you where you're from. The get to know you kind of question. So I'm going to pass you the mic, and then you just open it up.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right. Well, my name is Ricky Twiggs. I am from Algiers, a little place on the West Bank side of New Orleans, or as people say, the Best Bank side. Shout out to Algiers. And I that's primarily where I've grown up. I spent all my years in Algiers, and it's what I know as home. And for me, it reminds me a lot of New Orleans East, where it's kind of like a forgotten island almost, apart from the city itself. And I'm looking to revitalize both of those districts as aggressively as we can.
I love that. I I love how he compared the West Bank to the New Orleans East, because they are not the centers of attention, and when that happens, things get forgotten about. And council member Oliver Thomas was here talking about the New Orleans East. It kind of just sounds like a repetitive record that plays. We have these, and I love the ambition. I love the eagerness. I want to believe everybody that comes in my direction. I don't want to think anybody is telling me things that are untrue. I love where you're coming at, and I know that both of those regions of New Orleans, especially New Orleans East, it's just in disarray, and it's been in disarray since Katrina. And, we've heard talks about the Six Flags plot, and we've seen different scenarios and plans. I hope that we can find leadership in the city that will be able not only to tackle, the East and take down those blighted buildings that welcome all of our people that come in from Mississippi and Alabama. This is what welcomes them, and it's a shame. All it takes is demolition. How pretty would it be with trees? But we have an old Sears that's blighted, and we have homeless people living in them. So I think that we need a fresh take. We need people that come in that can revitalize the East while, being support systems for the people that live there. Like, you can count on one hand how many groceries that's there. It's ridiculous. So I just want to ask you, Ricky Twiggs, and I say that with respect. I love saying his name. It makes me happy. So with the East, and for the West Bank for that matter, what do you plan to introduce that is the different from other candidates, and how can I take you 100?
Absolutely. That's a great question. What I would say first and foremost is the reason why we have to look at some of the reasons that both Algiers and New Orleans East have experienced some economic disparities from the rest of the city, right? And that's primarily because the city of New Orleans is a tourist industry first and foremost, and it's been a tourist industry forever, as far as history essentially goes. So we have to start making moves away from the tourist industry and to start to build jobs that are economically feasible and sustainable for years to come. That hasn't been done at all from any of our current city leadership, whether it be from the mayor's office, the city council. And one of the areas that I think we are primed to be the leaders in, I think there's two areas, to be honest. I think the first one is medical and mental health. I think that's a huge one for us. I think we could easily be the leaders throughout the nation in medical and mental health care in the city. And so one of the areas that I would love to focus on is to create more mental health services in New Orleans East, to create more mental health services in Algiers, and to drive industry in that direction. Now, what has a tendency to happen is that both the East and both Algiers struggle economically because there's no real tourist industries to drive them there. So how do we offset that? Well, again, we create corridors for businesses, for infrastructure, for economic things that are sustainable, but we have to build jobs for people. We have a population of what, 340-ish thousand. We've lost over 100,000 people over the last 20 years since Hurricane Katrina. Clearly, we're not doing a great job in retaining people. And I think that goes back to education, mental health, and it goes back to no real viable job opportunities for people. It's all tourist driven. We've got to get away from that model. It doesn't work for us, and COVID proved that. When COVID hit, it disrupted everything. We have major, like Justine's recently just closed, Mofo's just closed. All these places are closing. We are in an economic bubble right now. We are entering what I would call a fiscal cliff, where all of the money from COVID, all the money from Hurricane Katrina, all those relief dollars that we have received that have gone unallocated, we're about to lose it. And once that money is gone, whether allocated or not, there is no more money afterwards. Then it's up to us to generate that revenue. That is a scary thing for me because we're not set up for it. We are a tourist first industry. If something happens to where we can't drive tourism dollars to us, we are in trouble. That is one of the areas that I would love to see change, is to turn the city of New Orleans from a tourist model into an economically viable and sustainable model. And we have a lot of work to do before we can even get there.
He hits really good points. And fresh off my spirit, it's really funny Bob Ross is coming to me right now. But we all loved Bob Ross, Pretty Little Clouds. The East is a blank canvas. I have chill bumps, and anyone that follows me knows when I got chill bumps, I'm spitting, okay? So we have right now unused canvases all throughout the East that would bring, and what's funny is we get tunnel vision. New Orleans is like tourism, fun, entertainment, live music, whatever, but shopping is also an engine. It's a really, really loud engine that you don't need a Six Flags, that needs to have people that want to ride rides, okay? That was proven a failure, and we don't need to revisit that. We need to think about tourism, but in another corner of tourism. Now, when I first moved here 25 years ago, I was told that there were chats and conversations about, IKEA or really powerful engines that could really revitalize the East. And not only IKEA, but really big box brands that we ain't got here that would bring Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, whatever, Arkansas, it would bring them here to enjoy the other things New Orleans has. While we got to have a water park, we got Audubon's Cool Zoo. It's great. Go to Cool Zoo. It's fun. They are a sponsor. But why have to revisit? It was a proven failure. So why can't we look at other really smart and economically proven businesses that could revitalize our blank canvases like Bob Ross wants to paint?
I agree.
I mean, I think we need not to look for children and people running in the water. We need to think about things that have roofs. It's New Orleans. We need to have roofs, and we need to make money. You're not going to find that in an open-winded air water park. Let's think with our glasses on if you need them. Okay? So then the next thing is our flooding situation.
Okay.
Get ready.
I'm ready.
We're going to buckle up. Because it's like a cycle. It's like an abusive relationship that says, I'll never beat you anymore. We're going to turn the page on this. We're going to elect someone new that just quit and then found someone new, I think. And, we were given these pipe dreams that just end up in dumpster fires. So I ask you, Mr. Ricky, what are we going to do if you're elected to City Hall? Because you're not in control of the Sewage and Water Board. But how you going to make it work for our city? Because I know in this neighborhood, Mid-City, I know on the West Bank. I know in New Orleans East. I know Uptown, Garden District. My in-laws live in the Garden District. It's ridiculous. So how can we get them on page for 2025 today on your plan?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a wonderful question, and I think this is where my plan begins to differ from the rest of the crowd. And it differs by one major source, is that I want to take the Sewage and Water Board and absorb it into New Orleans Public Works. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is that it's under city control, to where the citizens of New Orleans have somebody that is essentially protecting them from the predatory nature of the Sewage and Water Board. And I think the Sewage and Water Board slapped us all in the face when they gave the newly elected executive director, not elected, but chosen executive, well, I guess he was elected by the board. So the board that appointed the executive director for the Sewage and Water Board, they gave him like $100,000 raise. So since 2000, the new guy. So he's making almost $500,000. He's making like $427,000. The previous executive director was making about $340,000, I think. These numbers are insane. They're insane. They make more than the mayor. They make more than all the city council. So when we think about it, why are we spending this amount of money for someone who has never worked with our system before of water? They have never worked with our pump system, which is a very antiquated system. You have to have specialized training in order to know how to handle our system, which clearly nobody has been effectively been able to do. So the first things first, we got to take over the Sewage and Water Board. That is the first thing. The mayor's office, city council have got to work together to absorb it into public works. That allows us to have direct control. Then we can revamp public works, get more people on the public works employee list, which is crucial. We only have like 150 to 200 people working. Most of the city contracts that work out, which is a dangerous thing because contracts have a tendency to not go very well in the city of New Orleans, where they pillage our system and the work never gets done. That's why most of the streets are the way that they are, along with the Sewage and Water Board. But we'll get there in a moment. We've got to absorb it. The city has got to maintain control of it. We have got to turn the Sewage and Water Board into a public utility. That is the first thing that we must do. So that's where I would start. Once that happens, you beef up your public works department, and then you start the process of finding a project manager who has extensive knowledge and understanding of the Louisiana water system. You got to have that. The next part that you have to do is you got to take some money and you got to replace the generators, and you got to look at, can we replace the most damaged pumps? Because clearly we can't drop the money and fix everything in one go. Can't happen. But we can fix the ones that are in most disrepair and the ones that need it the most. Correct. Systematically, right? That is the first thing that has to occur afterwards. You find a good project manager and you tell them this is the process that we have to follow to get this thing done, and that's their job. Their job is to set everything up and to knock this thing down. That's what has happened is a
Where the money gonna come from?
That's a great question. We have $800 million in unspent and unallocated Hurricane Katrina funds. We have the money. The real problem is that we have budgetary issues where people don't know how to budget within certain portions of our city government. But we have $800 million of untapped Hurricane Katrina funds right now, just waiting and sitting. If we can leverage, and here's the sad thing about that, if that money is not allocated by the end of the year, the money goes bye-bye. So we have got to get on top of that money and to start to allocate it and spend it. We have the funds to make this happen. We are not budgeting correctly, which brings us to a much larger issue later on, which is another part of my platform that differs from the rest, which is where we have over 80 city departments. We don't need 80 city departments. We need to consolidate those departments. And we consolidate them and we free up more money for people that genuinely need it. And that's part of the platform as well.
In a way, because I am a stump jumper from Mississippi, and people from Mississippi deal with it. Okay, I was from rural Mississippi. Okay, I didn't go to esteemed colleges. Okay, so from me and the way that I look at it, okay, so when you say that we have this money, a lot of money, that's going to just go poof, bye-bye, the end of the year, how can we come together as a community and use that without it being, in my brain, there's Cinderella, okay, the animals, the birds, they just made this beautiful dress. That's the money, right?
Sure.
That's the money. The girl is New Orleans, okay? And then, I don't mean to say that the stepsisters and all that, y'all are ugly. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that everybody just attacks Cinderella. And this is mine. This is mine. How can we do it in an organized fashion to where we can implement that money towards a systematically, growing up, we got a big thing every year because of income tax or whatever, So 1 year we got a pool. Again, Mississippi. I don't know what Louisiana does, but we got one big thing every year. One year we got new floors. Okay? So I ask, why can't New Orleans spend systematically? You don't spend all of it to fix the water problem, but why can't we fix one really bad pump and then go systematically and do it, and then apply the money that's left over to other things in an organized way instead of Cinderella looking haggard.
No, absolutely. And I think that a lot of that goes down to there's two things that has to happen. The first, I would say, is institutional trust has to be regained from City Hall to the people. The people have got to trust City Hall, and they just don't. In a study in 2020, not a study, but a survey that was done in 2023, 70% of those that were polled said that they don't trust the city government to make good decisions for them. And in the most recent poll that occurred by JMC Analytics in 2024, based off of the current mayoral candidate pool, which I was left out of, mind you, but they said that I think it was 57 or 58% of respondents said that they believed the city of New Orleans was going in the wrong direction. And out of the mayoral list that they put, which again I was left out of, they listed 6 candidates. I was not included on that list. What I thought was interesting was that 37% was the largest number there, and that was the
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
That's rude. Okay? If someone has their name on anything coming from school to politics, if someone qualifies to run for mayor, they shouldn't be left out. And wherever it's coming from, that's wrong. Shame on you.
Thank you. I completely agree. And I think the poll even showed that, where 37% of the respondents, which was the largest percentage, said that they were undecided, that the people that they had listed, the 5 candidates that they had listed, were not who they wanted to be mayor. 37% was the largest number there. And I think that tells everybody a lot of key information. It's like we're looking for somebody new. We're looking for a different vision and a different path forward. And that's what I have offered. I released my platform first. It's over 200 pages. I have a transition plan. I have a consolidation plan on top of it on how we can save money and how we can use that money to help people that genuinely need it, right? And here's something about the 800 million unallocated funds, right? We can have way more. If we budget correctly and we eliminate wasteful departments that we just don't need, and we consolidate the departments that we do need, we could free up $100 million and have extra capital for the homeless population that is desperately needs help and has not received it. Somebody that has worked in mental health, the resources are not there. We have countless nonprofits in the city that receive billions of dollars in funding that exceed the city budget. Why are there homeless people? Why are there kids not in school? Why are kids falling in between the gaps? Why do we have such high illiteracy rates in the city? Yeah, well, sure. Since Katrina, they'll say the graduation rate has increased by 20%. Well, that's great. We also have 26% of kids that can't read at their grade level. So what are we actually doing? We have not tackled the historical problems that continue to destroy the soul of our city. We have not done anything to improve human dignity. And if we don't do that, what we have is a system that feels very oppressive, very suppressive. And how is a person supposed to respond underneath those conditions, right? They turn to drugs, they turn to crime. The system is not helpful in turning people in the direction where the American dream tells them that they can obtain. New Orleans is like a black hole right now. We can see this. We've lost an incredible amount of our population. We continue.
Well, the middle class left.
The middle class left, and we are losing more and more people. Our homeless population continues to increase. Housing continues to get more expensive. Where does it end? Where does the madness end?
That is a great question. Everything you said, I love. It infuriates me because as you're speaking, I'm thinking it's just rich and poor people now. And everybody else are on the outskirts. We live on the North Shore. Oh, yeah, we left here and we went there for free schools, but we're coming back in June. Everybody
returning home.
Everybody that leaves comes back. I digress. But I left, okay? Because I was mad. But I'm coming back. Anyway. People left, Ricky. They left. The middle class left. All right? My husband is a psychiatrist, so we can come back. Let me just be real. All right? If my husband wasn't an addiction psychiatrist, we wouldn't be able to come back. I'm NolaPapa. I had to leave. The middle class had to leave. So I'm a little bit irate. And it's sensitive. Because I know if it was just me, if I was a single dad with NolaPapa, guess where I was? Guess where I'd be? I'd be North Shore Papa, even though I hate it. And that's the truth. How are we going to bring the middle class back? Because it's just rich and poor people right now. Well, I mentioned IKEA. I'm going to continue to reach IKEA. I want them to be NolaPapa's brand. Okay, we have a multiverse of sponsors that I love. They're a family. Oshner, Rouse's, FCJ Law Firm, Audubon. I can continue. New Orleans Ice Cream. That's because I reach out to them and we create partnerships and we make magic happen. Okay, I'm at Ruby Slipper. Okay, that's our backdrop. I love them. All right, we work together. IKEA creates jobs. Jobs are held by the middle class. You know how many people would take great pride in working at IKEA? A lot. So there's other cookie cutter businesses like IKEA that would employ a lot of people that would desire to work with New Orleans. But then after they work move to New Orleans, then they have to deal with the unbearable insurance prices and the property taxes and the crime. So, we can build jobs, but how are we going to keep them safe? Like January 1st. I mean, it's terrorism. It's crime. So, as we wrap up this interview, I could talk to him all day. As a New Orleanian, we deserve to be safe. Period. I hate that we get flooded on. I hate it. But my babies coming from a father of 3, they need to be able to walk outside in a safe city. I know other parts are worse than others, but the bottom line is there needs to be communication in all forms of government here in New Orleans. There's no need for the superintendent of police to not know that the ballards were there but not used. I love her. Oh, love her. But it takes communication. And I don't mean to bring that up, but that was New Year's Eve terrorism. And that's what NolaPapa is about. I create relationships. I create friends. And that's what friends do. We all need to be on the same freaking page. I know New Orleans is fun and busy and there's something going on every 4 months or 3 months, but we need to have a group text, those group texts that everybody hates. We need to have one of those that everybody hates, but still have it. And dialogue that's regularly used. That's how you work. Communication. I'm a Gemini. I don't mean to yell. I'm sorry. I get that from my mama too. But I'm going to pass the microphone to Mr. Ricky Twiggs. And I'm going to ask, I want to hear what he says, how he can make this city safer.
I love this question because I think that there's 2 ways to look at this, right? The first way is from the side of corruption, right? New Orleans has historically been known as one of the most corrupt cities in all of the U.S. And so when we look at that for a moment, it's like, okay, if I'm a citizen and I notice that my city government is getting away with crimes, what is that message to me as an individual of this community, right? It means that if they can get away with impunity, maybe I can too. And what's interesting is that a lot of people historically have been able to kind of do that, right? Where people have been making deals with politicians or police officers or what have you. Now, luckily, those rates have gone down dramatically, and I think it's because of new leadership. I really do. I think it has helped us dramatically. However, there are still historical and generational problems when it comes to corruption and what message that has sent to the populace of our city. The next part of that is...
That's leading by example.
That's accurate.
I was taught that all my life.
Absolutely.
At church, school, you name it.
Yes.
We need to have that here.
We do. Okay. Because that is paramount and that's fundamental, right? Like if you grow up in a house that's chaotic, right, and your city government acts almost the same way, what is going to happen? You're going to have chaos in every direction, right? But here's the thing about chaos is that if I create enough chaos, I have a tendency and the ability to hide stuff. I have the tendency and the ability to get away with things a lot easier because you don't know where to look. Which is why they don't like my transition and consolidation plan, is because it clears up the mud. It allows us to see things and to run audits effectively and to weed out the corruption that is left here. The next part of this is, in order to tackle crime, we need to go back to the very basics of policing, which is community policing. Our police have got to go into the communities and become friendly with them. They have to put themselves out there not as figures of not just authority, but figures of care and figures to help. So oftentimes our police force is viewed as very dangerous dangerous element of city government. That needs to change. Our police officers have got to be viewed as the helping profession. They are part of the helping profession. Yes, they are there. They are both there to protect and to serve. We need to get back more into service. That's one of the key parts from my campaign as well, is to go back into service. We help people that have broken down on the side of the road. We help the mom who is trying to carry groceries from her car to her front door. We do those things. We got to get back to the active service. So our officers have got to be deployed. But
they need to visit schoolrooms.
Absolutely.
They need to make kids fall in love with police officers again.
That's right.
And they need to mirror what you want to see good in the world. It's like 101.
That's exactly correct. And we can definitely do that. We need to get back to the very basics of what police officers can be, to protect and to serve. Now, here's what's interesting to me, is that both major parties have agreed that crime is going down in the city of New Orleans. If you watch Instagram or if you watch TikTok, it doesn't seem like that's the case, right? So
It's true.
Here's what I find interesting. And for me, I'm not necessarily sure that crime has gone down in the way that they are making the stats look. For example, for years, not just a year, for years, when people would call 911, the police officers or officers on duty would just not show up. And for years, when rape cases were called, what would happen? Do you know?
Logged and forgotten about.
Backlogged and forgotten about. That is if a responding officer ever made it to that person. And so we have a history of not being responsive to people, or letting crimes go unsolved, or not prosecuting effectively. So when that happens, if I am neglected by my city government for years, why would I ever call them? So I'm not necessarily so sure that the numbers have gone down. I think the numbers of reported offenses may have gone down. But what about those offenses that we know are occurring that no one is reporting? I think that is the much bigger question to have. And now people will say, well, we can only work with what we have reported. It's like, well, sure, but we have to make the environment more conducive to reports, and I think we're going to get a much more accurate number. I don't think the numbers are necessarily as accurate as we want them to be. And I'm also hesitant when both political sides agree to something. That's a very strange thing for me. So I'm running as an independent. I'm an independent progressive, and so I'm aiming for more.
I was going to ask that.
Yes. So I'm aiming for more accountability at every departmental level. So when we talk about the crime problem, we cannot forget to talk about two areas: education and mental health. If those two areas continue to be underfunded and undervalued by our elected officials, we are going to continue to have more crime problems than we've had before. And I'm telling you this because I genuinely believe a fiscal cliff is coming, and when that fiscal cliff comes and we topple over the edge, we better be prepared. None of the other mayoral candidates have put forward an aggressive platform that protects the community from the potential of that fiscal cliff. My platform is designed to protect us as best as possible from that cliff. And it terrifies me greatly that no other candidate for mayor is taking that seriously enough.
For the ones in the back, you guys, okay, and it's something that's alarming. I mean, at the end of the year, that money just poofs, and there's so much opportunity. So much opportunity. I could talk to you all day. Ricky Twiggs. Okay, so where can people find you?
Absolutely. So you can find me at twigsformayor.com.
Twiggs, Twiggs.
For mayor.com. And on my website, I have my full platform, and I also have my first 100-day transition plan and consolidation plan. It's the most aggressive mayoral platform in probably the last 50 years.
And you were the first one to throw your name in the hat. And anyone that leaves, anyone off a list is demeaning, it's hurtful, and in a way elitish. So whoever's writing those articles, Papa sees you, because I know who runs. And I'm going to I am the new Lee Zurich in town, honey. I wish you nothing but the best, Ricky Twiggs. You are a breath of fresh air. You look like John Mayer. And I love someone that comes to me with a genuine attitude. I have sensibility, kind of clairvoyant sensitives about myself, and I can sniff and I can see genuinity in your eyes. So I encourage y'all to check him out at twigsformayor.com, and I wish you all the best. From my family to you and your family, we send you Nola love.
Appreciate having me on.
My boss are Ricky Twiggs. You have smooth hands. Until next time, Nola love.